Okay, so I did a poll on my Life Coach Mama Facebook page asking what you all would like to hear for the next video. And the vote was for communicating with your husband. Now, looking back on it, I probably should have been more specific because I don't know if those who voted wanted me to talk about communicating about hurt feelings or chores or finances or sex or how they love their husband. I don't know exactly. How to talk in difficult times, how to just, I don't know, get the husband to talk. And so, what I'm going to talk about is probably the main communication issue I see. Of course, there's a lot. It's a very generic topic, it involves a lot of subtopics. But one that I notice in working with women is that as women and as humans, really, we are not always the best at judging how we come across. We're always not always the best at knowing our feelings and being in touch with them, and at least recognizing how we are in the moment when we're having difficulty, when we're struggling, when we're stressed, when we're angry, when we're sad, or maybe a hormonal issue or a physical time where we're physically hurt or tired, something along those lines. And so I think the number one tip I will give as a life coach is to just be aware of how you are coming across. So, for example, often I hear that the wife wants to communicate to the husband that she needs more help at home. Well, I think that's a very understandable request. And of course, again, there's a lot of varieties. Every marriage is different, and every personality and ways of cleaning and levels of how clean they want the house are different. But I think that's a typical problem that comes up when you're living with someone else. So, of course, when you're married, that is going to be a topic of discussion. And so, what I would like to suggest is that you at least take some time and take a break if you are too stressed, too overwhelmed, too frustrated, too angry, and to take some time to consider exactly what it is you want to say. I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as moms to get everything done, to get everything done well, and to get everything done all by ourselves. And we have to remember that all throughout human history, women were not on their own. So maybe we have more help in our generation or in recent history from husbands, and maybe we hire someone to help with something around the house. However, since the beginning of time, people lived in communities. People lived in tribes, and then they lived in intergenerational homes. And up until just recently, people were not living completely isolated, where one person was expected to do everything, or even two people. Because everyone has limited time in the day, and there's just a never-ending list of things to do in the house or things to do for our children. So this is a new time in history, and we have to recognize that it might not be realistic to have it all. And so maybe we want to pick one or two things in the house that we want to focus on. It doesn't mean that everything else has to be a mess. You can never address those other issues with your husband, or you can't yourself get those done. But let's just focus on one or two, because there are a lot of things to talk about. And sometimes if we bring up too many tasks or too many problems or too many topics, it's just overwhelming and it doesn't go anywhere. So we want to problem solve, want to be productive. We want to have an effective conversation, maybe a sit down meeting with the husband. But we're not going to be able to do that if we're spinning out of control. Okay, so like everything in life coaching starts in your thoughts. So you want to talk to your brain. Like I said, you want to take a break so that you're emotionally in a good place to have this conversation. You want to calm your nervous system down so you're not acting in fight or flight and freaking out. Okay, so after we do all those things, maybe you want to write down the topics you want to talk to about husband, maybe some notes, Or maybe you just want to go ahead and have that conversation with him if you feel like you can stay calm. So you know yourself best, you know him best, you know the time of day that's best, but just be mindful of all those things. Sometimes we come to him when we are at our breaking point. So, like I said earlier, we're living very isolated lives, and because we still want things to be nice, of course, everyone wants a nicely decorated home, good cooking. Everyone wants peace in the home. Everybody wants some sort of order and organization for bills and chores to be done so that there's clean dishes and you can find your clothes out of the laundry. So we all want that, but because you're doing it all on your own, it can get really overwhelming and you could have an expectation of yourself that's unrealistic that you can do it all. Meanwhile, working and taking care of the kids and doing all the other things, kids' activities and bills and other household tasks. So before you get to that point where you're losing it and you go to him in a fit of crying or a fit of anger, saying he never helps, or accusing him or criticizing him, which of course he'll respond in defensiveness and then it won't go anywhere. So before you do all that, calm the nervous system down, take a break, figure out what you want to say to him in a clear way, and then you can problem solve. Then you can go to him and together you can problem solve. And you also want to make sure it's a good time of day, a good place, and it's a good moment for him and that he's doing well. And he's in the right mental state to receive your information. And then together you problem solve, right? We can't problem solve when we're not in the thinking brain. So we get out of the emotional brain and we work with our brain to calm down, to solve the problem, and to go from there. So that's my number one tip. Just be mindful of how you're feeling and any topic that you bring up. It doesn't have to be about household work or that you need more help around the house, but anything you're bringing up to him, just be mindful of how you're feeling, how you're coming across, what you're saying, and so just notice your thoughts, notice your feelings. As always in life coaching, your thoughts create your feelings and your feelings create your actions. So notice those thoughts and take control of your thoughts and live a happier and better life.